masuk ke dalam area ballroom dan silahkan menempati tempat duduk yang telah disediakan karena acara akan segera kita mulai kembali. Bagi Anda yang memerlukan translation device untuk diketahui, ketiga sesi panel diskusi kita nanti akan dilakukan menggunakan bahasa Inggris. Jadi apabila Anda membutuhkan translation device untuk kenyamanan Anda, kami persilahkan Anda untuk mengambilnya di translation booth yang berada di sebelah kiri dari pintu masuk ballroom ini. Sekali lagi, translation device tersedia untuk Anda dan bisa Anda ambil di sebelah kiri dari pintu masuk ballroom ini.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say welcome back to all of you who have gathered up in this ballroom. Soon we'll start the next session of the ASEAN Investment Forum 2023. Would like to invite everyone who is still at the exhibition hall or outside this ballroom to come into this ballroom as we will start the next session very soon. And if you need the translation device, again, would like to remind you that the committee has been providing the devices which are available at the device booth or the translation booth at the very left area as you enter this ballroom. Once again, would like to invite everyone to come inside and please be seated and we get ready to start the next session. Thank you.
kasih.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to ASEAN Investment Forum 2023. First of all, let's give a big round of applause for everyone who have gathered here again for the next session.
So this is not an applause for the event per se, but it is for you who have made it on time. And we do apologize for the delay for about 20 minutes, but we promise everything will be efficient and everything will be on track.
That's right. So it's great to see everybody is back. We do hope that you enjoyed your lunch. We're approaching one of the most critical sessions, or one of the most critical moments of the day, which is the sleepy time. So make sure that you get your coffee on standby next to you, that we follow the 3 sessions coming right after this lunch break.
That's right. My principle is 4 cups of coffee max, and I've reached 3 cups of the day, so I still have 1 left.
And that's double shots, Rory, by the way.
Well, I don't measure by the cups. I don't measure by the shots. I measure by the cups.
So 3 times 4, that's like, 3 times 2.
Well, I have to drink like 4 liters of water earlier.
Okay, no matter what. So, ladies and gentlemen, on this second half of the ASEAN Investment Forum 2023, we'll focus on investment opportunities in ASEAN. There are 3 sessions that will discuss prospective investment opportunities as we go towards the green economy and sustainable developments, specifically in electric vehicles, renewable energy, and health systems.
That's certainly right, and the second half of the forum is something that you don't want to miss, especially if you are in the government and private sectors looking at investments, setting up and nurturing the industry of EVs, renewable energy, and health systems. And to give us a better idea, a clear idea, and the introduction to these 3 topics, we would like to invite Mr. Jonathan Wong, Chief of Trade, Investment and Innovation Division of the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAP.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Jonathan Wong.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I will be brief because, as the MCs mentioned, we are running late. There are far more interesting people speaking this afternoon than me, and it is sleepy time after lunch. But really, thank you to the MCs for your energy, because you're giving me, and I'm sure everyone else, energy. So I just want to give you a round of applause too before we get started. Thank you so much. So let me dive straight in. Welcome back. So good afternoon and welcome back again and to this second part of the ASEAN Investment Forum. This morning's high-level sessions really provided us with a wealth of information around the policy challenges and opportunities for channeling more FDI into sustainable development-related sectors in ASEAN member states. We learned that while each ASEAN member state may have different priorities, they all share the common goal of attracting more and better quality investment into their countries. This afternoon's session will go a bit deeper, and as well as the exhibitions outside, which I would urge you all to visit. Hopefully, this afternoon will provide ASEAN member states with the opportunity to realise the goal of getting and attracting more high quality and better FDI. The main aim of each session is to provide a platform for the investment promotion agencies in ASEAN member states to discuss their current investment opportunities in 3 key areas related to sustainable development, namely 1, electric vehicles, 2, renewable energy, and 3, health. Also this afternoon, we will learn about which subsectors each individual ASEAN member state is targeting, and also about the current investment opportunities in their countries in these subsectors. Through featuring current and tangible investment opportunities in their countries, we keep our fingers crossed, and we hope that this afternoon's session will serve as a platform for each ASEAN member state to connect with potential investors in the audience and consequently support them in their efforts to promote more and better quality FDI. I very much look forward to learning about each of the opportunities that will be pitched and encourage really the audience to be very active, ask any questions, no matter how silly you think they are or how controversial you think they are, because I'm sure they'll be very thought-provoking. And I hope you all enjoy this afternoon's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wong.
Yes.
Now we get the idea that the second half of this session will be lively and will be quite relaxed.
So everyone is open for questions. So that's also trying to prevent ourselves from sleepiness, I guess. just be critical to any of the panelists that will be here on the stage. And I guess we're ready now to introduce the moderator of the day, which, okay, we're going to talk about the electric vehicles, ladies and gentlemen. Let us begin the third session now about investment opportunities in electric vehicles by highlighting the growing electronic vehicles industry in the region and exploring investment opportunities therein.
That's right. So let us begin this session. All right, for this very session, the third session of the day, Ms. Eko Lissiorini of Bloomberg will lead the discussion in this third session, and we would like to invite Ms. Eko Lissiorini to start the panel discussion.
The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me call the panelists to come on stage. The first, Bapak Nurul Ihwan, Deputy Chairman for Investment Promotion from Indonesia Ministry of Investment. Second, Ms. Songklin Ploimi, Deputy Secretary General of Board of Investment of Thailand. The third, Dr. Sar Senera, Director of Cambodian Investment Board, Council for the Development of Cambodia. The next one is David Fernando Audi, Operating Partner from East Ventures. And the last, Pulkit Srivastava, co-founder of Vivage. Welcome to our panel discussion on one of the most significant topics of our time, investment landscape of electric vehicle. Before we start talking to the panelists, I want to ask the audience, how many of you interested in buying electric cars, motorcycles, or other commercial vehicles that's based on electric power? Can you raise your hand? Wow, this is very fascinating. So, dear panelists, you have all seen the glimpse of demand from the ASEAN countries here for EV. Thank you, sir. So let's start the discussion. So ASEAN leaders have recognized the potential economic and environmental benefits associated with transitioning to electric vehicles. 10 member countries have announced or updated their EV mandate set between 2025 and 2015. First, I want to start to Pak Nurul. Indonesia has been steadily climbing up the EV value chain with the cathode factory start to construction soon. So where's the next opportunity for investors in Indonesia, Pak?
All right, yes, thank you. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, knowing that you have a very good appetite in electric vehicles, I guess this is giving a kind of energy for all of us here on the stage to share about the vision from every single country of ASEAN countries. So yeah, when we talk about opportunities of EV batteries, so we have to see it is not only about EV itself, but we see the ecosystem that will finally build this EV manufacturing. So when we talk about this, we in Indonesia currently is seeing for the setting the possibility of having ecosystem in EV battery. Because we know that when we talk about EV manufacturing, in Indonesia, the market is still not that mature enough. So it means that now we would like to be a part of global supply chains of EV battery. And when we talk about this EV battery, we know that the process of downstreaming industry started from nickel ore into the recycle of this. It is a significant steps that we need to do. So from the nickel ore, then we are going to have also the nickel and sulfate or cobalt, and then also we have battery precursor, and then we have also cathode, and we have a battery cell, battery pack, and also recycling. So these are the ecosystems that we would like to have in Indonesia. We have some investors, as stated by our minister this morning as well. They have interest in Indonesia, and they have already started, and they get the license from Indonesia, but then the ecosystem is not that complete yet. So it means that it is still open for these opportunities. That's the first. And the second, we know that the demand for this EV is keep increasing. As the data that we have from the global institutions, for example, that we know that the demand for these electric vehicles is also increasing. So from 2020, we have maybe only the demand of around 2.5 million, and the 2025 this will increase about 11 something million, and 2030 there will be around 34 something. So it means that the increase of this then will also attract more supply of raw materials and batteries coming from Indonesia. So it means that going along with this increasing of the market, then from the supply of electricity battery and also global demand for this kind of thing from Indonesia is increasing. So it means that coming to Indonesia, having this kind of facilities, processing industry of battery based on this nickel, this still open very wide for you. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Nurul. It looks like Indonesia are going to be an automotive powerhouse for EV, Pak. So next is Ms. Song Klin. So Thailand has already an automotive powerhouse, but can it transition into becoming an EV manufacturing powerhouse?
Okay, thank you for the questions. You know, as I am working in the investment promotion agency, so I know that the situation of the investment in this sector. What is the situation, how is it going? So I would say that in the past, if you look back to the past, the history of automotive industry in Thailand, you will see that we have pickup truck that is the product champion. And for the pickup truck, the maker can utilize more than 90% of the local parts, you know. That means Thailand had a strong supporting industry for automotive industry. So we can use this supporting industry, you know, for the EV production in the future as well. Because, you know, there's still, you know, even the EV has less part than the ICE vehicle. But the frame, the structure, and other still utilize the part that, you know, it is the same as the ICE part, you know. And for the Thai government, it has the commitment. We set up the national committee. This is very important, you know, for Thailand. We set up the national committee to run this policy, you know. In the past 2 years, yeah, we are very seriously, you know, just to develop the EV production and domestic market. And we come up, you know, with a lot of policy. I give examples for the investment promotion. You know that we revise our policies. Within 2 years, we revise many times, you know, just to respond to the need of investment. And now, Thailand, we promote many kinds of electric vehicles, starting from 2 wheels, 3 wheels. Now, somebody may know about tuk-tuk of Thailand. And 4 wheels, passenger cars, bus and truck, and boat, and also bicycle, you see. This is all the electric vehicle we promote with, you know, priority incentive. That means maximum incentive. And also the part, that is, Thailand doesn't have the raw material like Indonesia has nickel and cobalt. We don't have But we promote and give high incentive for the part, very important part for the EV. So, and also infrastructure facility, like charging station, we also promote the private sector to invest for infrastructure. So these three important factors will boost the electric vehicle development in Thailand, to be like automotive industry of Thailand in the past, I believe.
Very exciting, Ms. Songklin. Next, Mr. Sarsenera. We know that Cambodia has introduced import duties on EVs in 2021. That is about 50% lower than taxes on traditional internal combustion engine. What are you going to do to attract investment in EV to Cambodia?
Thank you, moderators. First and foremost, appreciate the organizing committee to have me here, representing Cambodia, to talk about the EV investment opportunity in Cambodia. It's pretty challenging to inform our government policy regarding the attractions, how the government policy is designed to attract the EV investment in Cambodia. Meanwhile, sitting next to the Indonesian delegate, who is the country, in reach of nickel for production of the battery for the electric vehicle. And Thailand has mentioned earlier this morning as well how strong the ecosystem of the industry in automotive industry in Thailand. However, there are still opportunities. I'm happy that I'm sitting just right in front of the investor who are really interested in the EV. I'm not the EV expert. I own the electric vehicle or car before I come here. But actually, there are still the opportunity to invest in Cambodia, regardless of the size of our population or the potential of our domestic market. Why? I think I have to echo what the Minister of BKP mentioned earlier this morning about the complementary economy, not the competitive economy. Competition is good, but complementarity would make ASEAN sustainable and realize our endeavor to be stable global supplier, and also to strengthen our global, our regional supply chains, especially in the field of the electric vehicle. So we have mentioned about, we talk a lot about the electric vehicles, but then I have to break down into questioning what kinds of vehicle we are trying to invest in. Because, for example, if you go to a particular country, our neighbor country, Thailand or maybe Malaysia, Indonesia, I think they aim for the high-end, high value-add industry already, just to produce an EV. But then I have to inform you first, before I go into detail, I don't know, with the time constraint in mind, that recently our government has adopted a roadmap called Automotive and Electronics Sectors Development Roadmap for Cambodia to move up to a certain level of exporting and being a supply chain of the part and component of the automotive and electronic. Because for the past few years, we see amid the pandemic crisis and economic slowdown, we see that the export of the simple components of the automotive and electronics to the global market kept rising unbelievably. And then we understand that to diversify our economy, so the automotive part and component with the simple part and component production and supply to the global market, especially to ASEAN, and electronic would make it Cambodia provide comparative advantages. And we are not trying to compete, but and with that in mind, so the government has provided a roadmap that aim on five particular sectors to realize our endeavor to be part of the supplier to the region, to the global. One of which is a cross-ministerial strategy and coordination, which is a soft infrastructure that we have to handle. The key initiative is to include the indication of the location for the automotive and electronics and sector cluster, and the strengthening of a cooperation with the neighboring country like Thailand and of course Vietnam and Indonesia, and also human capital and innovations. Of course, when we talk about EV, and it's the right timing to talk about the EV due to the commitment of each and every government toward the commitment of the zero carbon emission. But on top of that, I believe that that's it's part of the skyrocketing price of the gasoline, right? So that makes it, EV becomes popular, and also the mentality of the new generation toward the high-tech phase means of transportation, and EV is part of one of the high-tech to them. But on top of that, infrastructure. So our government plans to improve the infrastructure, and the key initiative for that include the reviewing the electricity tariff. And earlier we mentioned about the high price of the fuel, but at the same time, once you convert into the EV, still you need to consume electricity. And the electricity in Cambodia is still high as compared to the neighboring country and to the Laos PDR. Therefore, it is important that before the EVs manufacturer or the assembly plant could come into Cambodia to install, assemble, and supply to the local market with the increasing demand of the new automotive and to export as well. So the electricity cost would be the priority for the consideration. So the managing the price of electricity is very important. And also when I mentioned about the infrastructure, so the harmonizing cross-border transport and regulations is one of the top priority for the government, because we talk a lot about the supply chains and about the complementarity. So that means that the nickels imported from Indonesia, you don't really want to process it here. Of course, you have to clear certain regulation before you can export the semi-processed nickel to the neighboring country for making the battery. And then you can go to do it in Cambodia if the Thailand doesn't want to do it, right? And then it's very necessary to streamlining the cross-border shipping, transporting regulation. So this is one of the top priority of the government, and also to reduce costs, because these days you see the pandemics. During the pandemic, you see the price of the logistics soar, which hurt most trader. And last but not least, we are not. I have to admit that we Cambodia, with a small size of the market, and we are not the country, natural, let's say, mineral deposit rich country like Indonesia or other country. Therefore, we expect to actually to incentivize those investment activity in our country, rather than trying to, sell to them the resources that we have. Therefore, to accommodate this policy, the government has adopted a new law and regulation which provide the lucrative incentive to such kind of investment activity. And starting ranging from the import duty free of these material production and equipment, and export duty free, and the long-term corporate income tax exemption with the additional tax exemption and other special tax exemption. The detail of which can be informed you later. Would you like to approach me or in other opportunity? And our endeavor by providing this incentive and this fiscal incentive and the non-fiscal incentive that I just mentioned, because we aim also for the labor intensive. Unless your industry demands only the robots, okay? So we aim only for the low or medium technology, which also still needs require the labor intensive, such as seats or wiring harness and other components that some other countries in Asia, in ASEAN, are not of interest anymore. So this is how we try to create, to be part of the ecosystem that you just mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Senator. That was very comprehensive plan from Cambodian
investment board.
government. So next, Mr. Audi, how do you see the current investment landscape and how attractive are the pitches made by the officials here?
Yes, I agree. I think today Indonesia and Thailand are the two countries that are most ready to capitalize on this electric vehicle trend. Now it's like the Detroit of Asia, of Southeast Asia. So I think going forward, rather than competing with each other, I think both Indonesia and Thailand can find ways to collaborate. For example, Indonesia is rich in natural resources, and Pak Ikhwan just explained about our plan in downstreaming the nickel. So Indonesia can focus more on the battery production, then they can connect to Thailand to basically manufacture the electric vehicle. And other countries in ASEAN, they can also take parts in supplying components. As we know, the automotive are comprised with thousands of industry, thousands of players, employing millions of people. And we still have a lot of room to grow. As of today, electric vehicle is only represent 2 to 3% of all the cars in Southeast Asia. So definitely there is a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of room to collaborate. And only if we collaborate, then we can fully monetize on this electric vehicle story and becoming a global epicenter of growth in electric vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Adi. I think you have highlighted what are the things that the ASEAN members can work together to become the Detroit, the new Detroit of the region, Detroit of ASEAN. Next, Mr. Srivastava, EVH has carved out its niche in India's commercial EV. What's the investment proposition behind that?
Thank you for inviting me here, and thank you everybody. Good afternoon. I want to answer that question, but I want to take a step back in talking a bit about how EVs are made. It's very important to be driven by facts. If one person knew how to make combustion engine, that does not mean that they know how to make EVs. EVs are like mobile phone with wheels. We are closer to a washing machine and a lift and a fan than to combustion engine. They look alike, but they're totally different product. It's different physics, different chemistry. So that's part one. Part two, the technology has changed. Automotive industry generally innovated on the products, but not the way to manufacture. Currently, the technology has moved so ahead that you don't need steel to manufacture. You can use composite body to lightweight the vehicle. In at least EVH, with us, we manufacture electric trucks and buses in India. And by the way, India is the third largest automaker in the world after China and America. So, automaking is in our blood, and we have really innovated. It only takes us 125,000 square feet to put up a car plant in $25 million to produce 12,000 vehicles. We no longer need $500 million, 3,000 people, and 2 million square feet. So it's important to know that we don't need to compete with each other. We can put up a small modular micro factory in each country and produce make in Thailand, make in Indonesia, make in Cambodia, make in Singapore plants. That exists with technology. Now so I wanted to get that clear. Coming to the point of what is required from investment perspective. And we were discussing this earlier. It's very similar to buying a house, right? When you buy a house, you see a safe place, probably a good gym, probably close to the school. It's similar. What is required in EV is one ecosystem, right? And what is the ecosystem? Ecosystem is fast charging, at least for trucks, right? 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, battery swapping works brilliantly. But when you talk about commercial vehicles, and also commercial vehicles, I'm glad everybody understands the importance of it. In all our countries, in the cities, we share a common thing, which is none of us have blue skies, right? And 2% of vehicles contribute to 50% of pollution. 36% of a city's pollution is from trucks. So to make EVs run on the road more, we need to, one, create an ecosystem for easy financing. EV vehicles need to be financed at half the price than combustion engine. It's very simple, 3 steps. Finance the EVs at half the price. First. Second, create a subsidy for putting fast charging stations, because trucks battery swapping is not possible. Third, ensure that the government bodies like postal services, bus ecosystem is incentivized or is forced upon to purchase EVs to run in their fleet. And let's be clear, if you're buying a passenger vehicle, you're running 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. But my trucks in India run 20 hours a day, or probably more. Our buses run 18 hours a day. They contribute significantly to pollution. So let's get the focus right. It's no point competing with each other. We all have something which we can support each other with. And in India, we've been doing it for decades now, right? It's a mature ecosystem. Let's learn from each other and make Asia a better place to live than the way we found it.
Thank you, Mr. Viswastapa. Now we have time for questions from the audience. Is there any questions from the audience? Okay, then I will ask the questions. Pak Nurul, I'm back to you, Pak Nurul. So, Mr. Aude has said Indonesia and Thailand can be the next decade of ASEAN now. For the consumer, how will the next stage of downstream policy affect the local industry, and how soon? What are the generous incentive that you will offer other than what you have offered?
Yes, thank you. So it means that based on the investment plan that is already coming to Indonesia, we have the planning for them to come to Indonesia. So the earliest will be, the implementations will be by 2024, we are going to have the manufacturing of a part of a component for the batteries. So after that, this will be followed by other ecosystem of this. And by the way, the ones coming to Indonesia, it is not only single company and it is not coming from one country as well. So it means that we have the potential investors coming from China, coming from Europe, coming from America. They are having interest with Indonesia here. So when will be these implementations to be executed? So I guess starting time will be 2024. That will be the first investment realizations for the EV batteries in Indonesia. But moving forward, then we have also possibility of having more downstream industry, even though for the case of Indonesia, we have the automotive industry in Indonesia, Hyundai, that is already existing in Indonesia and producing already in Indonesia, but it has also capacity that is still very limited. It is going to be in, let's say, 10 gigawatt of manufacturing in Indonesia. But the thing that we have to be careful is about the recycling. Because I just would like to highlight policy coming from EU, for example. So we know that EU is currently in the planning of having kind of implementations of policy from them in regard to EU green strategy on EV battery. Among others, they are going to highlight on the content of the recycled battery into the new productions of the battery. So we analyzed that maybe for the first 5, maybe or 7 years, there will be battery to be imported or battery materials to be imported into EU. But then they are going to design the policy that after that, the recycled battery is resourced from the recycled batteries that will be in very high content as a kind of requirement to have this. It means that for a country like Indonesia, like the Philippines, even though we have this capacity of the highest and the 6th highest of nickel reserve in the world, this will not be that promising at the time that this recycled battery is required in the market of EU. Because once it is coming to the EU and it must be recycled, then they are going to make a requirement that it is a must for you to have this percentage of recycled to be sold in EU market. So in this case, I just would like to highlight that for ASEAN, we must have a kind of joint of innovation center that we would like also to have our capacity, not only selling the critical minerals up to certain processing of this nickel into the battery, but we have to have our self-capacity in making this recycling of the battery to be done in ASEAN countries and in other neighboring countries. Because without having this, we have to be careful that we need also to open the new market in ASEAN and also in other neighboring countries like in East Asia, for example. So by having this, then we are going to be support with a very strong market. And for Indonesia, for example, we have also the target of having the creations of the market. So this will be supported by the market that will be absorbed by the government sector, public sectors, and then also by state-owned enterprises as well, and then also by the
ASEAN Center for Innovation. And how is it that Thailand develop its own domestic market for EV? Is there any incentive that you are preparing in advance for the market in your country?
Okay, as I mentioned we have the national committee. So what incentive or what is the support of the Thai government? It's in many dimensions. It's not just only incentive. Incentive is there, but sometimes it's not enough, and sometimes it's not the response to the investor. But the market still, very important factor. So for Thailand, to boost the markets, it's one of the factors that we are preparing, And I would like to show that in Thailand, why now the market of EV is increasing 12%, every year. Why it is increasing, I will give this picture. We have the motor show last April, this April, and then the sales, the sales of, in that motor show, more than half is the sales of Chinese car maker. And Chinese car maker, most of them produce EV. So this shows the behavior of Thai people that they are ready, to change to EV, since the price is okay, the price is reasonable, and facility. When you want to buy electric vehicle, you are thinking what you are thinking of. You're thinking of, okay, how far that can you drive? How can you find the charging station? And then how can you charge the battery at home? So what is the question? This is the question that you are worried. But if, the government, prepare this thing for you, so I think that every country is ready to change, So, and what I mentioned is incentive and the market. And the other important one is infrastructure, charging station. That is important. So I think now Thailand is preparing very serious, for this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Songkrin. You mentioned about infrastructure for a charging station. Mr. Senera, how is it the landscape of charging station in your country? Has it already sufficient for the EV to be flourished in the Cambodia?
Thank you very much for the questions. I hate to tell you that I am not good at the number, but I can inform you that it's still relatively low because currently I can name a few of the automobile of the EV suppliers into our market. One of which is the famous BYD from China, and the charging stations are somehow still limited, and they targeted only the popular destination where the Cambodians, the locals, really commute to. However, I think there is an increase in the demand of the EV, and then there will be the increase in the charging station installation. For simple reason, because it's part of the facility to accommodate it's just part of the after service for their products as well, right? However, should investor from this hall wish to cooperate with the current the existing supplier of the car dealer, and you wish to invest in a installation of the charging station, and I have the opportunity to meet some local investors who are really thinking of into that. but they still need to figure out the number of the EV and the rising needs of that stations.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Audi, I want to ask a practical question. If you had $1 billion to build an EV factory anywhere in the Southeast Asia, where would it be and why?
Yes, I think that I've answered like from the first answer. Yeah, I think as of today, Indonesia and Thailand is like the most ready. But of course, like if we can collaborate, not only Indonesia and Thailand, but with all the ASEAN member states, like we can create a joint project together where all the countries will participate in terms of like components and a lot of that other auto parts. And talking about the charging station, that is also something that we can collaborate. As of today, Indonesia have about 700 electric charging station and plan to have 2,500 by the end of 2025. Thailand, as of today, have about 3,000 to 4,000 charging station, and this is set to double every year. But if we compare to China, China, as of today, have 1.8 million charging station. All this number is still very low. So how we can collaborate, all the ASEAN member states? First, we can agree on certain interoperability. Like for example, let's say the plug. Yeah, this also will already save a lot of money. And also there is a lot of other ways that if we can agree to certain standard and then we build all this charging station in ASEAN, this will be resulting in a very efficient and effective deployment of capital, better allocation of capital. Yeah, so that is like another example why ASEAN should come together and build this together as a joint collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Audi. That was very insightful. How about you, Mr. Srivastava? How do you translate your ideas in the Southeast Asia? What would you need to see before you decided to expand in this region?
First, I want to answer on what Audi said. I wish I had $1 billion. I would have put 20 factories. So you don't. Again, as I said, you don't need $1 billion anymore for EV. That's the beauty of it. It's no longer a capex-heavy industry. The technology has moved forward. We need to look at auto manufacturing very differently. No a large area, a lot of capex investment, welding line, robotics, not required at all. EV manufacturing is very simple. We need to look at it the way we look at assembling mobile phones. Similarly, we need to look at it. But when I look at a new country, and we have, of course, been in India for the last 10 years, and now in Nepal and UAE, and we are now looking at Asia, which country do we focus on? As I mentioned, a country which provides an opportunity to put up the fast charging network, right? That's priority number one. But the good part is, and this is what we were discussing before, Eka, cities contribute to 5% of land mass, where 50% of the world's population live, consuming 75% of the world's resources. If we want to make world a better place, we need to change 5% of the land mass. It's not a large area we are talking about. Commercial vehicle, buses, school buses, tuk-tuks run on the same route. They run in a loop. We need to put charging stations strategically. It's not about putting charging stations. It's about where do you put it. That's far more important. 90% of the time has to go in planning and 10% in execution. Unfortunately, around the world, 90% goes in execution and 10% in thinking. So what we would want to look at it is a country which is one most favorable to giving subsidies on importing, because ecosystem world is now is shrinking, right? So I have 197 vendors of components which come from 155 vendors, which come together to make 900 parts. Those 900 parts come together once in a day to make one vehicle. The point is, we are sourcing from all over the world. So a country which allows us to import easily, which allows us to work with them on the policies. It's not GK, it's not general knowledge to know how to make a policy on EVs. As OEM, we know what to make to support us. talk to us. We'll tell you what is required, right? And of course, creates a demand internally with government bodies like postal services, buses. All the government bodies need to convert to EVs. Combination of these 3 and 4 will allow an OEM to find a local partner. We don't want to come in individually. We want to come partner with your country's organization, get the technology which we have perfected in the last 10 years, create jobs here, but more importantly, make the cities cleaner.
Very nice. So if you have $1 billion, you would invest in several ASEAN countries. That would be enough, right?
More than enough.
More than enough. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of this panel discussion. Thank you for all the distinguished panelists. You have given insights on how the ASEAN can work together and prosper together, develop the ecosystem in electric vehicle. So I'll see you in the next opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Eko Lissiorini of Bloomberg. Let's give a big round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen, for this third panel discussion.
Yes, and would like to give a memento as a token of appreciation to all of the panelists and moderator for this session. And therefore would like to invite Mr. Andi Maulana, Deputy Chairman for Investment Technology of the Ministry of Investment of the Republic of Indonesia,